Hello Year 3 and welcome back to day 2 of our new writing unit. So we are looking at traditional tales or fairy tales if you prefer to call them that. And today we are going to be looking more in depth at one particular fairy tale which we are going to be focusing on for our big ride. Now today we're going to be looking at the different sections of a traditional tale and what language features are used in each. But before we get into that, all I want you to have in front of you is a piece of paper and something to write with. You don't need anything else. You don't need any worksheets. Everything is going to be note-taking as you watch this video, and there's a little task at the end which you can choose to do. So I am going to share my screen with you. And as I said, we are going to be looking at boxing up and identifying, so finding the language features of a traditional tale. And I've got some examples there of traditional tales, including Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk, Little Red Riding Hood, and the Three Little Pigs. Okay, so I thought it'd be quite fun to revisit homophones. Now, if you don't remember what those are, homophones are words which sound the same but are spelled differently, so they have different meanings. So what I want you to do is write 1, 2, and 3 because you have 3 options, or 3 sentences, sorry, and for each sentence you are going to choose the correct homophone. You don't need to write the full sentence out, just write 1 and then write which homophone you would use. So for the first one, we are going to look at the homophone 2. So if 2 is spelled with a W, it means the number 2. If 2 has 1 O, it means you're going to a place. And if it has 2 O's, it means too much of something. So write 1, 2, 3. And I will read the sentence out for you, and you just write which kind of 2 you would go for. So, number 1, are you going to the fair? Number 2, there are only 2 places left. And number 3, there are too many people in here. So, I'm going to give you about 5 seconds or so to write that down, and then I'm going to show you the answers. 3, 2, 1. And there we go. So the first one should have been 2 with 1 O because you're going to a place. The second was 2 with a W for the number 2. And the third was 2 with 2 O's for too much, too many. Okay, so just like before, I would like you to write 1, 2, and 3. And now we are going to look at new or new. So new with an N means brand new, never before been used. New with a K is the past tense of know, to know something. So again, once you've written 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to read out the sentence and you tell me which homophone you would use. I knew you would do that. Number 2, do you like my new shorts? Number 3, this car is brand new. Okay, so write your 3 options. And then we're going to go straight on to the blue or blue homophone before I give you the answers. So blue, spelled B-L-U-E, is the colour. Blue, B-L-E-W, is the past tense of blow. So let's have a go. So again, write 1, 2, or 3. Number 1, the wind blew really hard. Number 2, my favourite colour is blue. And number 3, is that blue? So I'm going to give you about 5 seconds before I reveal the answers. If that's too short, then just pause the video and press play when you're ready. 3, 2, 1. And there are my answers. So the first one was new with a K. The second 2 were new, N-E-W, because new things. And then for blue or blue, the first was blue, as in B-L-E-W. And then the second 2 were blue, as in the colour blue. Okay, so now we have so or so. Only 2 options here, so you just have to write 1 and 2. 2 sentences, I should say. So the first, so spelled S-O means is the conjunction. So with S-E-W is the past, the verb to sew with a needle and thread. So the first one, I couldn't climb over it, so I went around it. And then number 2, do you know how to sew? A question there. So again, we're going to go straight on to the next one before I reveal the answers. So this one is C or C. C with E, cup of tea from your phonics, means like the water, and C with E, double E, I should say, is to look. So first one, so make sure you've written 1, 2, 3, because there are 3 sentences here. Number 1, can you see me? Number 2, there's nothing to see here. And number 3, the ship sailed across the sea. So I'll give you a few seconds to write your answers before I reveal the answers. But again, press pause if you need some more time. So you're going to give me about 3, 2, and 1. And there are the answers. So pause the video if you want to go over them. First one was so, as in the conjunction, and the second was so, S-E-W, because it's asking if you can do that verb. And then the second section was C or C. The first was C with double E. The second was C with double E, and the last was C with E cup of tea. Okay, now last one of our do now. You have got where, were, where, and where. So these are very tricky and things I've noticed in your writing, so I thought it'd be a good thing to recap. So the first one, where, you can see my cursor hovering over that, where as in where can it be? So you're looking for a placement of something. Were, just like where, but it doesn't have the H. So it's we were going to go shopping, or they were playing in the playground, so it's past tense. We're, so this is a contraction, and it's the contraction for we are. So if you're not sure, read it as we are. And then W-E-A-R is wear, as in what am I going to wear today? Not a problem for you usually because you're in school uniform. So first one, that is where. Miss Chowdhury just gave the first one away, so let's ignore that, but pause the video and you can fill in the answers yourself. So press pause now, read through those and put in the correct homophone, giving you a big old clue with the first one there, and then press play when you're ready for me to go through the answers. But I'm going to wait 5 seconds just to be on the safe side. Okay, so I'm moving on, so make sure you keep this video paused if you need more time. And here are my answers. So just like I said before, quite annoyingly, that is where I used to live. The next is the children were very tired after their day out. I like to wear red. Hurry up, we're, with the apostrophe, going to be late. And lastly, we were freezing cold. Okay, so that is our do now done. So we're going to quickly recap what is a traditional tale. So pause the video here. I've given you some clues here with the pictures, and press play when you are ready for me to go over what a traditional tale is. So pause the video now. Hopefully you pause because I'm about to explain what a traditional tale is. So just like yesterday, it is passed down by storytellers, so by word of mouth. It's not been written down. It's told orally, so by mouth from generation to generation. So someone reads it to their kids, they grow up, read it to their kids, they grow up, read it to their kids. So it's passed down before eventually being written down. So remember I said we're not quite sure where these stories originated from. We don't know quite who was the first person to write them down or tell them, but they're traditional because they have been passed down. And their purpose, so the reason we have these stories, is to entertain younger children. So some of you might find that these are a bit babyish, which is quite all right. But the reason we are doing this is to know what makes different types of stories, what ingredients go into them. So we're learning about what makes a good traditional tale. So if this seems a little bit babyish for you, that's why. So let's get into it. What makes a traditional tale? So just like yesterday, and you did a great job with identifying your features, they have magical characters, so they could have talking animals or objects, traditional settings like a forest or a magical kingdom or a land far, far away. You have a battle between good versus evil, so you have heroes versus villains, the good guys and the bad guys. You've got repetition. Remember, repetition is to make it easier for the younger children to follow the story. You usually have a series of 3, and I wonder if you can think of any. So I'll give you a few examples. 3 little pigs, 3 bears, 3 billy goats gruff. When you have a fairy godmother, how many wishes does she grant you? And then you have the typical traditional tale or fairy tale language, such as once upon a time. So I'll learn text, and I can't remember if I've given this away or not already, but it is going to be the 3 little pigs, but it has been changed slightly. We're going to make it a lot more exciting. So let's see, as I'm reading the story to you, whether you can spot the differences. So what what's going to happen is I'm going to read you each section of the story. It's broken up into, I think, 4 or 5 different sections. We're going to read the section, or I am, and then I'm going to ask you to try and identify some features. So you can just scribble these down as notes. You don't have to worry about it being nicely laid out. Once upon a time, there lived 3 little pigs. One day, they decided to leave their dear mother and build houses of their own. The first little pig thought that straw would make a good house. He built the home very quickly and was very. The second little pig thought sticks would make a fine house. He built his home very quickly and was very pleased with his house too. The third little pig thought stainless steel would make a strong house. It took him a long time to build his home, but he was very pleased with it. And there you can see a very jolly looking pig, very happy with his home at the bottom there. So that was the first section of the story, and this is where our characters are seeking a new start. So the idea that they want to make a new life for themselves. So what can you spot in this section? So we've been introduced to our main characters, who are 3 pigs. I've given you 3 steps there, and I want you to fill in the gaps. Remember, you don't need to write out the full sentence. So number 1, the main characters leave. Number 2, the first 2 characters build what kind of houses? And then thirdly, the third character, the third pig, builds what kind of a house? So pause the video here, have a think, and in about 6 seconds, I'm going to tell you what the answers are. Okay, so the first one is the main characters leave home. They all want to build houses of their own. The second is the first 2 characters build similar type of houses. One builds it out of straw, the other builds it out of sticks, quite similar materials. But the third character, building it out of stainless steel, so a strong metal, builds a very different type of house. So he doesn't go for bricks, he goes for something very different. And what can you notice being repeated in this section? So again, I'm going to give you some time to have a think about it. It's highlighted in orange for you. See if you can spot it. So I'm going to give you 6 seconds, but pause the video if you would like some more time. Okay, so what's been repeated here? Firstly, we've got 3 little pigs. It's the same animal or character being repeated. Each builds a house, so each does the same thing. And each is pleased with their house. Already in this first section, if a younger child was following it, they could easily tell you there are 3 pigs, each builds a house, each is very happy. Okay, so next section. Before the sun rose the next day, a crafty wolf came along. Sneakily, he peered into the straw house and spotted the first chubby piggy resting in bed. Little pig, let me come in, he called. Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin, I will not let you in, cried the startled pig. Then I have no choice but to blow your house down, growled the ravenous wolf. Carefully, the wolf took a stick of dynamite from under his furry coat. Kaboom! The pig's straw walls collapsed. The wolf gobbled up the first little pig, but was still hungry. So in that section, our villain comes along, and I wonder, well, no surprises for who the villain is in this story. So our wolf comes along. And again, there are 3 sections to this part. So we know the house falls down, but again, I've given you 3 ideas there. So just fill in the gaps. So 1, what does the villain ask? 2, what does the pig say in response? And 3, what does the villain then do? So again, give yourself about 10 seconds to make some notes down or say it out loud to yourself. And then press play when you are ready for me to go through it. Okay, so in this section, the villain asks to be let into the house. The pig says, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, so he's saying absolutely not, refusing there. And then the villain gets out a stick of dynamite in this story to destroy the house. And what has been highlighted in green? I'm going to give you a clue there. Look at the punctuation. So hopefully you notice that we are using direct speech with inverted commas or speech marks. So very important in this story because we know certain lines are going to be repeated. Okay, so third section. Around lunchtime, the wolf spotted the second pig reading in the house he'd built from sticks. Little pig, let me come in, he called. Not by the hair of my chinny chin, I will not let you in, cried the second pig. In that case, prepare to become bacon, growled the wolf, licking his lips. Once again, he pulled a stick of dynamite and lit the fuse. Kaboom! The wooden walls collapsed. The wolf began gobbling up the second little pig, but he was still hungry. So now, very similar to the section before, this time the villain destroys the second house. So again, I've given you 1, 2, 3. Thinking back to the previous section, what 3 things have happened here? Press pause and press play when you are ready for me to reveal the answers. Okay, I hope you press pause because I'm going to go through them. So the first thing, again, the villain asks to be let into the house. Little pig, let me come in. The second, what does the pig say? He refuses. He says, not by the hair of my... Hope you joined in there. And then thirdly, he destroys the house with the dynamite. I wonder if you can identify what language feature has been highlighted in red. So I've got around lunchtime with a comma. Once again, with a comma. What kind of sentence starter have I used there? Okay, let's have a drum roll. It is adverbs of time. Remember from last time when we did our diary entries, adverbs of time help to move the action along, so it's showing the passing of time. Okay, so third section or fourth section, Miss Jowdy's getting confused. The wicked wolf followed the scent of the last plump pig until he reached the house made of steel. He asked for the final pig to come out from his house, but the shrewd, so clever, swine is another word for pig, told him to go away and remained indoors. The wolf realised the dynamite wouldn't be strong enough to destroy the pig's sturdy metal walls. For a few minutes, the wolf pondered, so thought, on this dilemma until he came up with a plan. So this is the next section where the villain has a plan for the third house. So again, you don't have to write this down because we know now that this really repeats itself. So what happened with the first and second pig pretty much happens with the third pig. So 1, what does the villain ask? 2, what does the pig say in response? But year 3, it changes here, doesn't it? What does the villain need to do? Because he doesn't actually manage, like in the other 2 sections, to destroy this house. So pause the video, give yourself some time to write some notes or say it out loud before we move on to the next section. So what has been highlighted here? So I've highlighted, he asked for the final pig to come out and the cunning swine told him to go away. So I've given you a hint here. People are speaking, but we haven't used speech marks. Now, we have used this before, and I wonder if anyone can remember. What do you call it when we use speech in a story, but we don't use speech marks? Okay, let's have another drum roll. Let's see if anybody got it. It is called reported speech. Remember, imagine you're the reporter. You're saying what was said at the time of the story. Okay, next section. The sly wolf climbed onto the roof of the house, crawled down through the chimney and into the pit. The wolf, however, was in for a big surprise. The third little pig had been cooking a sizzling stew, and splash! The wolf fell right into the pot. The wolf bubbled and burned and boiled alive. Oh dear. Okay, so in this section, the third character foils, so defeats almost in a way, the villain and his plan. So again, I've got 1, 2, and 3, and I wonder if you can write a little note here to tell me what happened. So number 1, the villain carries out his what? Number 2, the villain's plan what? And number 3, the character, so our pig, plots what? So pause the video here before I reveal the answers. Okay, I hope you gave yourself enough time. If not, pause the video. So number 1, the villain carries out his plan, again, to be invited into the house ask to be let in doesn't work out, so he decides to crawl down the chimney. That's his new plan. The villain's plan, does it work out or not? No, it does not. We know he falls straight into the stew. And what happens at the end? The last of the pigs happily ate wolf for dinner, but vowed to take revenge on this beast somehow. So that shows me that the story has ended very differently here. So well done for listening to that and writing out your notes and thinking about the different the different language features and the structure of the story. What I would like you to do is, and again, this doesn't have to be really neatly laid out, I just want you to, for yourself, write out in notes the structure of the story. So I've given you the 5 parts of the story here. I've got the character seek a new start, the villain destroys the first home, the villain destroys the second home, the villain attempts to destroy the third home, and then we have our conclusion, so our ending. What I would like you to do is to write those points numbered and just tell me in a few words what happens in each. So for instance, for character seek a new start, what happens? I know who my characters are. I know they want to build new homes. What are those homes made of? Second, the villain. Who is the villain? How does he destroy the first home? Third, again, who's the villain? How does he destroy the second home? Fourth, the villain attempts to destroy the third home. Does it work out for him? If not, what happens? And then what does the main character want to do at the end? So you're not rewriting out the story, you're just writing out in notes things to help you remember the structure of the story. And if you want to challenge yourself, you can write out what language features you spotted in each. You do have the text uploaded for you on your home learning worksheet. So that is there for you to read again if you would like, or you can go back and listen to me read the story to you again. But well done, and tomorrow we are going to be looking in more depth at each part of the story. So I hope you enjoyed that version of the Three Little Pigs, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.